of absolutely massive sideways trading. Bitcoin right now is literally, as we are speaking about this for the first time, receiving this major signal on the daily chart. And the last time that this happened was on January 13th, 2022. And it marked the beginning of the biggest trend change of the entire cycle. But is there evidence that this is different? Or are the Moon Boys absolutely about to be strung up, covered in olive oil, and grilled to a complete crisp? Right now, the price of Bitcoin is having a true decision be made right now, and it faces its first real possible dumpulation in a very long time. As you can see, I'm sure many of you know, we have been trading sideways in no man's land for a long time. But I firmly believe at the very least, this trend is going to be tested right now, very soon, in the immediate short term, and something much bigger as well. But before we jump into Bitcoin and crypto specifically, let's take a look at this. So the stock market, the SPX, is actually falling below its 50-day moving average, or kind of just testing right about the 50-day moving average, and potentially signaling some dumpier times to come. We're seeing the MACD also switch to, it could easily switch to being very bearish here on the daily chart. But interestingly enough, just like we have been talking about for weeks, the DXY actually has been rejected at the 105 level so far. This is the biggest red daily candle for the DXY that we've seen, probably going all the way back to July of 2023. And I haven't touched this chart in maybe like a year. I hate looking at the DXY. I hate looking at it. I hate changing it, touching it. So again, if you go back and watch my videos for the past year, these exact same three resistance support levels have been on this chart. And 105 so far has been as we can see, as we have just touched the tip here, a level of dumpiness. Now, will that continue? I want to kind of continue with that later in the video, but I want to first talk about a few positive things about Bitcoin first before we really jump into the charts here. So the former president of PayPal and head of Facebook payments works on Bitcoin. Bitcoin, he says, is the universal protocol for money on the internet, said David Marcus on the Lightning Network. And, if we can take away one massive thing, we all know Bitcoin has had no shortage of supporters, the important supporters over the last year. What do I mean by that? Billion-dollar managers, company CEOs, people that actually can affect change and bring Bitcoin into higher status to more people that literally can implement Bitcoin in a big way are more and more supportive of Bitcoin as the years go on. And specifically 2023 has been very bearish. Well, 2022 was massively bearish. 2023, I would say overall is pretty bearish, kind of a mixed bag for price, but for adoption and all the people we're seeing come out in support of Bitcoin, whether it is Larry Fink of BlackRock or even David Marcus. Is there anybody that's actually influential at this point besides Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger or whatever? Is there any real big people that haven't really started to switch their tune? Obviously there is, but for the most part, most of these actually financially influential people in finance, we're talking about even traditional finance, are pretty bullish on Bitcoin. It's actually crazy. And every year that goes by, that becomes more and more true. Every year you go backwards, it was less and less true. In the past, people just did not like and support it. We're seeing the opposite change. And it's a slow process, but it is happening. And CryptoCon talking about something we already know. September is historically a bad month for Bitcoin. It's just how it is, right? October, however, is historically bullish. But now, keep in mind, we're only about 1/3 of the way through September. I personally could see September get more dumpy. Okay. In the short term, right? September, the rest of these next 2 or 3 weeks, 3 or so weeks, is the short term. And I would say it's more likely these next 3 weeks will be dumpy, more so than they'll be pumpy. But what CryptoCon says is here, it's actually November that will bring the turnaround we need according to halving dates. He's saying specifically November 20th. Local tops have lined up well, and he's basically saying that's what he thinks. So about 2 months, basically, what that means. 2 months until we see potentially some signs of life in the Bitcoin market and an actual uptrend. It's anyone's guess. I don't agree or disagree. I think it's absolutely possible. I think it makes sense based on the data he's showing. But if you had 2 months to accumulate Bitcoin really before we actually start seeing really positive price momentum, and within those 2 months, if we get massive dumps as well, which I think is equally as possible, would you be satisfied with that? Would you be prepared for that? How are you preparing for that, basically? Mags the Scalping Pro on Twitter also talking about the psychology of a market. Looks like we're in the disbelief phase now. And I agree. I think we are. But that also, if you look at this, it means we could go lower and more sideways, which is exactly what is going to crunch this market more and more in terms of enthusiasm and in terms of optimism. Crypto pointing out Bitcoin on the MVRV Z-score, once again showing us that bottom signal quite a while ago, but ultimately I think this is going to turn around in the next few months. But I personally, as I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, even couple of months, I think Bitcoin could easily slump lower here. So let's take a look at a few things. Most importantly, Bitcoin right here on the daily chart is about to have its 50-day moving average go below its 200-day moving average right here. It's literally crossing right now. Okay. Now, just like with bullish signals, there's no guarantee that we get a golden cross or a death cross, that all of a sudden it's all the way up or all the way down, depending on which cross we're talking about. It's not like an absolute guaranteed confirmation. However, the last time we got this bullish cross back in February, Bitcoin did go from 21,000 up to 31,000. And the last time we got this bearish cross, Bitcoin did go from 41,000 ultimately down to our bear market bottom of about 15,000. And when we had the bullish cross even before that, Bitcoin went from about 45 up to 69. Nice. And so these crosses historically, but one thing, this is actually more what I want to highlight here, is that during this period of the market, which is very similar to what we're in now, the 2019-2020 period, is so much, it mirrors, I think, where we are right now, the sideways bear to bull market transition period. When we see these crosses, you can see that we had quite a few in a short amount of time that weren't that substantial. And I think if there's anything to take away from this is that if we're getting this cross, if Bitcoin is able to maintain it for a couple weeks, not really dump that much, and also end up flipping back with the 50, then going back above the 200, very similar to like what we saw about 4 years ago, right here back in 2019, 2020, during the absolutely massive bull market bust phase. If we do that, I think that's even bigger of a confirmation that we are exactly where I think we are. And what do I mean by that? Well, exactly like we were in 2019 into 2020. So this dump, I think more so is very similar to 2019, 2020. I don't think it's some massive doomsday signal, but I do still think we're going to see a short-term dump. I think that's very likely. We are holding on support here. 25 really has yet to be like truly tested. 25K for Bitcoin. And a lot of, momentum is very, and I think the momentum in the short term just doesn't look great, right? I mean, look at some of these altcoins. Polygon is about to set like a new low for the bear market. Ethereum actually holding up better than most. Ethereum's actually doing really well. But Bitcoin's daily chart doesn't look good. We're below all the key daily supports we would want to be, daily moving averages we would want to be above, and we're not. And we still have pretty much 24,000 here on this weekly chart for Bitcoin, the 50-week moving average here as a level of support. We do see that momentum kind of bearish though. So in the short term, I personally think it makes more sense to be bearish right now. If we get a true bounce and a relief, and we hold these supports over the next few weeks, that's very good. But in the short term, it looks very obviously like we're about to see a bigger downside move. And the last time I said that literally was back in the middle of August. And we did get the dump very quickly from 29 down to 25. And I'm saying again, we're seeing very similar signals here. It's all a matter of if we get a dump, where the strength is, because that will tell us everything. I personally think, again, as I've just repeated 20 times, I think we probably will see a dump in the short term. But it's more important where we dump down to, how price reacts at whatever level it dumps to. And then that, I think, will give me at least a better idea of, is this market strong? Is it weak? Are we heading lower? Or is this like absolutely the bottom and this was like one final shakeout before we continue and hold support around 25? Or do we have to go lower? And take advantage of massive trading and deposit bonuses with Femex and BitGet below. Specifically, if you sign up with my link to Femex below, it takes 30 seconds to sign up. You can earn free XPT when you trade anything using my link below, in addition to those massive sign up and deposit bonuses as well. And without any further ado, it's it for me.